What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. Brought to you by My Song Day Rock 2000 Day. Wishing you guys a very happy Tuesday. It is June 9th, and it is the third anniversary of the album Wolves by my favorite band, Rise Against. So, woohoo! Alright, but before we get into today's show, you guys know I have to go through my shameless plugs. So, of course, the shameless plug section would be the section where if I had any advertising at this moment, this is where it would go. Well, I have had a chance to get some, but it didn't work out just with what they wanted me to do in conjunction with them. So, still promoting all the My Song a Day stuff. So please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Those are the social media platforms you can follow us on, and that's where you can connect with all of us. So that you can, get the 30-second Song of the Day feature preview before you go and listen to the whole entire thing, because that is awesome. It's a way for you to fall in love with bands again, fall in love with new bands that you didn't know about, and just, connect with fans of those bands. Then we also post a lot of things asking you different questions, and you guys can talk to us there. Also, please subscribe to the My Song Day Rock 2000 Day YouTube channel, where if you're watching this video, it should be in the bottom right-hand corner of the video, or the subscribe button, because that's where you can always look at that stuff. When you subscribe to this channel, we release videos every single Wednesday night at 9 p.m. No, not 9 p.m. Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern time, so 8 p.m. Central time. Man, I was really going off on that one. But it's always like crazy stuff too, like album reviews. My favorite series of right now is me figuring out if I like certain bands or not, and then just any other things we kind of come up with. But that's also, you can watch these Chord Progression Podcast videos, and you can also listen to the Chord Progression Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. And this podcast, it's all about focusing in right now on those bands in the scene that are beginning to really get going and are the emerging bands in the scene that are ready to break through. And guys, I found another good one. Well, I should say this. I already knew about them, and I decided let's get in contact with them. So on November 23rd, 2019, they were our Small Band Saturday feature. And while I was looking for bands, like, who do I want to interview? Who do I see there? And this band just kept resonating in my head. BlackWater. I'm like, huh. So let's see what they're up to. And they released a new EP called Overflow on March 11th of 2020, right as the coronavirus pandemic was hitting. And I'm like, oh man, let's see what else they got going on. They're playing their first live show on Friday, June 12th since the pandemic hit. And I'm like, oh, lordy. I want to talk to these guys because I love the sound they had. And I got to listen to their EP, and I'm like, oh man, yeah, we got to talk to these guys. Everything was set up. Unfortunately, for the first day we had it set up, we had to reschedule, but we were able to reschedule for the following day, and then we were able to get this podcast put out on the day it was supposed to come out. So these guys, hard rockers from Dayton, Ohio, you've heard them as a Small Band Saturday feature before, but now it's time to really get in the know with them. So these are the guys from BlackWater out of Dayton, Ohio, hard rock band you guys are going to want to listen to. So strap in. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, I always say this in the intro. You guys always want to know I try and bring the heat with bands I see as the emerging bands in the scene with rock and metal that are ready just to break through that next level and become those bands. All of a sudden, you're going to see them on tour and be like, hey, this band, I heard them on the Chord Progression Podcast. Now they're opening for some of the biggest bands out there right now. Yeah, those are the bands I really focus on. And guys, I think I done found another one. We feature them as a Small Band Saturday feature back, I believe it was November 23rd of 2019. Don't ask, or I'll probably tell you guys how I remember the exact date I featured it because it's really wacky in my mind. But from Dayton, Ohio, please welcome the guys from the band BlackWater. Guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Howdy doody.
Thanks for having us, man. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for being on as well. I know we had a little bit of a fiasco trying to get this put together when it came to just, of course, things come up, things happen, but hey, we got this put together and we're going to make this happen. I'm glad to have you guys on here. Right now, for everyone watching at home or listening, two of the guys are currently on the call with the video, and one guy, he's still here, just on the phone. So I'll let you guys take it away with some introductions. You guys can say whatever you want, say who you are, where you're from or where you are right now, because I know you guys are all in three different, completely different places, what you guys do in the band. And then honestly, whatever else you want to do. I've had people tell me what like their astrological sign is. I've had people tell me what their Tinder bios were. I mean, I've gone through some wacky stuff. So whatever you guys want to do, just take it away.
Have at it, Brandon.
Go for it.
I'm Brandon, lead vocals, BlackWater, and founding member. And I'm currently on my way home from work right now.
And that is exactly why he is on the phone. But, when you're working, especially during a time like this, hey, got to be making that money. So totally understandable. I'm just glad to have you on, man. That's pretty much it.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we'll shoot over to the next guy. Either Ben or Taylor, you guys can go.
Ben, you can go ahead.
All right. Ben Willis, play bass in the band. Also from Dayton, Ohio. I've been with Brandon and BlackWater for, I think, maybe 3 years now. Not a founding member like Brandon, but, I've been around for a little bit, and we've really started to develop some good chemistry and written some songs together, and, things are going pretty good so far. I am sitting in my basement at my house, and that's not very exciting. So we'll go ahead and go to Taylor.
Oh, well, my name is Taylor Miller. I'm the lead guitarist / lead fiddlist for BlackWater. I joined BlackWater back in August of 2019. I actually left my other band to join BlackWater. I was in for 4 years. I had played bass for the first 3 and then switched to lead guitar. But it just ended up working out in the long run better way for me and everything I was doing in my life to be with BlackWater, and then to help actually get them to the next level too, because they never had a lead guitarist. So I was the first one joining the band.
Alrighty, well then that's kind of where I want to start with you, Taylor, especially with that story of, so you were with a foreign band for 4 years and then made the switch to join BlackWater as their full-time lead guitarist. So what was the purpose behind the switch, and what happened with joining BlackWater? Like, who reached out to who? How did this all come together, basically?
So the band I was in was called Chord, and we were progressive rock. Everybody basically always compared us to Coheed and Cambria, which band I love. All kinds of influences like that. And we played a show with BlackWater back in 2017. That was when I met Ben and Brandon. But a couple different times, because he knew I was a good bass player, Brandon called me because their old drummer, who's not in the band now, he couldn't play a show, so Ben filled in on drums and I filled in on bass for like 2 or 3 different shows, and they loved having me play for them. And then eventually I ended up filling in for 2 shows later last year, towards the end of the year. And then Brandon was like, man, kind of like you should be the guitarist. Like, we really need one. We'd like one. And I really wanted to do it because I was like, man, it's creative freedom. I get to jump into this whole thing. Some of these songs are already written. I get to have my creative input, just complete freedom, whatever I want to do with it. And that was like a big speaking to me thing, because I mean, any band you're going to jump into, you want to have control, not be like, well, you got to learn this, you have to do it this way, that's it. So it ended up being kind of an issue with my other band as we were doing it. So I just made the decision that I felt it was best for me and my personal growth to leave that band and then join BlackWater. And then it's been nothing. It was kind of sucked at first, leaving a band you've been with for 4 years, but kind of like ripping a Band-Aid off. It hurt, but you made the right decision, kind of thing. And I haven't looked back at it ever since. And I love being in the band with these guys. They're some of my best friends. It's just awesome. I love it.
Yeah, man. For sure.
I was saying that's completely understandable when it comes down to like figuring out what's best for you, because especially when it comes to your career, one thing you always have to remember is you always have to look out for number one. And when it came down to it for you, Taylor, it's like, okay, I see what my other band is doing. However, I have played shows with BlackWater beforehand, and what I end up wanting to do when it comes to my music and progressing forward in my career as a musician, it seems like the chemistry and what I want to go with is going to be better with BlackWater than with the band you currently were in. So you just kind of had to make the call. And I love the analogy with the Band-Aid too, because it totally makes a lot of sense, because you don't want to rip it off right away, because all of a sudden, it's going to pull out the hairs in my arm. It's going to hurt.
Exactly.
And after you pull it off, after like 5 seconds, you're just like,
Yep, that's exactly how I felt. It sucked. And I was going through a phase where, I'd left that band. I just got let go from my old job. Like it was a scary period of time for me, honestly. But the fact that I was able to join BlackWater when I did before I found my new job and everything, it was like a blessing for me, honestly. It was cool.
It was good timing, man, because we were originally a 3-piece, and when we lost our previous drummer, we had to bring in a new drummer, and that's when Taylor filled in on bass, and I played drums for a couple shows, but we had to find a new drummer, and just a few months after we got our new drummer, we were still a 3-piece, but within a month or two, we had gotten Taylor. So our transition from a 3-piece to a 4-piece came with a new drummer and a new guitarist, but it was all timed very well, and it really worked out in our favor, and it's been really nice, having that extra guitar. Obviously Brandon plays guitar as well, so having the 2 guitars when we need them is just something I think maybe we were missing before. That first EP that we released, we did as a 3-piece, and then the second one, Overflow, was the first one as the new 4-piece. So that's kind of where we're at this point.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask when it came down to it, because you guys were the 3-piece, especially on your original self-titled EP, which came out in June of 2018. If you guys were a 3-piece, you were playing bass, you had your drummer there, and then you had Brandon singing. I'm like wondering, okay, how do you guys get the guitars there? But of course, got to be Brandon on that one. So I want to jump to Brandon, to you on this one. What was it like playing as a 3-piece and also being the vocalist and the guitarist at the same time as well, taking both of those aspects of the band?
It was kind of tough to pull off a full sound with just 3 people, but I think we did pretty all right, and just use what we could, and it's kind of hard to say because it's been a while since we did that, but I mean, it really wasn't that big of a difference, but just like having the new guitar player just adds extra layers to it, and now I could sing and not have to play guitar all the time, so now we could play a little bit more difficult stuff, and to where we were a 3-piece, and some stuff was kind of simplified and just kind of like heavier, basically. But it was kind of tough for a while. But I like having an extra guitar player. I like the 3-piece for a little while, but I think I definitely like having the extra guitarist. And Taylor's also a great writer, so it's making it easier to write better songs, I think.
Okay, I can easily see where you're coming out with that, because even for the stuff that I've done here, it's like you take a look at any artist or any basically any creator's stuff. You take a look at their stuff they did when they first start out versus as they go through their career. It could be an artist, could be a musician, could be anybody. Hell, could even be me. Like it's just like the stuff that you do on your first, like anything that's first. You look at it, it's just like, okay, you did the best you could and you got through with what you could do. But then all of a sudden you start adding more pieces to it. You start adding more equipment to it. You start adding. Like in your instance, you guys are able to add Taylor to the mix and bring in a full-time guitarist. So you were able to not only mess around with, a lead guitar and potentially with Brandon playing probably rhythm guitar at that point. How you could also mess around where all of a sudden you're able to just let Taylor focus in on the guitar work. And then that allows you to create basically more complex stuff in the end.
Right.
Yeah, definitely it's more complex now. And the last EP we wrote, Overflow, me and Ben mostly wrote most of the songs ourselves before Taylor and Ryan even joined the band. And so Taylor just kind of added his flavor onto the songs that were already there. And now we're starting to write a new album all together with all 4 of us, with Taylor's songs, and Ryan will be able to come up with his idea as the drummer, and me and Ben will be able to continue what we do. But yeah, this is going to be exciting. I think we're going to be able to write some more complex stuff here pretty soon.
All right, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, but how I want to dive deeper into that is to understand you guys as musicians more and understand, when it comes down to it, what's the kind of music that you like and you listen to when you were growing up becoming musicians that you listen to today as well. is to kind of understand, you know, when it comes to BlackWater, when it comes to writing your style of music, how that all comes together and how that all blends together to create your sound. Because of course, you know, you're going to be listening to music and you're going to end up maybe taking bits and pieces of inspiration from different artists or different styles or different genres that you hear to create your sound. So I kind of want to get a taste of basically the kind of music that you like and the writing styles that you go with.
I kind of, I'm a little bit older than the rest of the guys in the band. Well, Ryan and I are closer in age. But I think for the most part, I grew up listening to, like, when I first discovered music and everything, I think like punk music was where I kind of started everything. When I started playing drums, punk music was just, you know, I just wanted to play loud and beat on things really fast. And that seemed like the appropriate type of music. Then I kind of jumped into more like some heavier stuff, some heavier rock and heavier metal type stuff when I became like a teenager. So when I joined BlackWater, I was, you know, obviously a little older than them, and they were playing some stuff that was very nostalgic for me, you know, like some rock and metal from the late 90s and early to mid 2000s. So it seemed very nostalgic for me, and it just made me think of like a time when I was a little bit younger and, you know, that kind of bullshit. So that's what drew me to it, you know, like it was like, this is cool, man. Like, I haven't played this kind of music, you know, in 10 years or so. And you know, now I listen to everything, but I think having that long period of my life where I listened to that type of music, it kind of like molded me as a musician, as a drummer and a bass player. And I think a lot of those type of influences, like some of that, like post grunge type stuff, you know, like when Chevelle first came around and you know, like some like Breaking Benjamin type stuff, Tool, obviously, like that kind of stuff, like, is what really shaped me, you know, as a drummer primarily, but as a musician, and BlackWater made me feel at home.
Okay, so
that, you know?
So kind of like just hearing those bands you rattle off, I like that post-grunge, like early, like alternative metal kind of scene, especially when you brought up Breaking Benjamin in there. I mean, that just clicks a light right in my head because I absolutely love Breaking Benjamin, and I can hear a little bit of that, like, just in your music as well, especially in a song like Cold Home, is just with the pacing that it has, because it has that like with Breaking Benjamin's music, it's every time I hear it, it's like, I know it's one of their songs clearly, but like one thing that's always a trope of theirs is just the way their songs are melodically paced is always just in a certain way where it's just, of course, anytime one of their songs come on the radio, it's like, or, you know, someone plays it for you, or it's on like a Spotify playlist you put, like, you're listening to randomly, it's like, oh, you know exactly, it's a Breaking Benjamin song, no matter what, through and through. And you can totally feel that in music, and I can easily see where that comes in now, with that being one of your like one of your big bands that you listened to when you were younger, because it's like when you're growing up and when you start listening to music and when you start like really forming your own musical opinion, which is kind of like, you know, like those, like in your like early mid teenager years, that's the kind of stuff that always sticks with you. And it's just like, okay, you know, when I'm listening to music, this is what I like. And it's kind of like the genres that you end up like, you know, exploring a little bit more, and just like the subgenres of it, or the, you know, similar genres of it, you kind of exploring those a little bit more. But then there's always certain aspects of that, you know, you pick up on and put in your music as well. And you're not copying it in any way. It's just, you're just taking in, like, it's just what you listen to. It's just taking inspiration from what you love in music and just going from there.
Right.
Hey, real quick. Hey, Brandon, when you're not talking, mute your phone.
I was okay. That was him.
He said, okay.
I don't know how to do that.
Really? You hit mute.
We'll just have to make sure that when he comes in, we're just have to like ping him in and be like, okay, here we go. Well, I'll make it very simple, but we'll jump to I want to jump to Taylor on this one now. So Taylor, when it comes to you, because especially now with you guys starting to write a full-on album as well, especially after your Overflow EP release, basically right as this whole entire pandemic thing was happening, and now that you're going to end up writing more with the band and really getting into it, what was the kind of music that you really listened to while you were, you know, growing up, while you were in your other band as well, that really kind of basically formed you as a musician?
Right. So my background with music started with, I wanted to play guitar because me and my dad, mainly my dad, because we would go on fishing trips and he would jam 60, 70 keys, you name it from that time period, I probably heard it. And I just fell in love with music like that. And when I was about 9 years old was when I started playing guitar. My mom got me a guitar. I came home from school one day and I had it. She was sitting right there with it, with a little, little $10 amp, little shitty one. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm stoked. And then I tried to play for the longest time, tried to get lessons, and I didn't learn anything from lessons. So I ended up just picking it up by ear myself over time. But when I started actually like wanting to play for myself and write and stuff, I was a little metalhead, which I still am at heart. Like I love August Burns Red, my shit, one of my favorite metal bands. Like I talked about earlier, All That Remains. I listened to a lot of that As I Lay Dying and stuff. That was like my roots as a metal guitarist. But once I joined my other band, Chord, which that was about 2015, and I became really, really big into prog rock, math rock. Like I said, Coheed and Cambria, one of my favorite bands still to this day. One of my, like Dance Gavin Dance, Circa Survive, Seosin. Huge fan of Thrice. Thrice is my all-time favorite band. Like I love Thrice. I'll probably dick ride them, honestly. It's fine. But that's where a lot of those influences, because they're so different. Like you have the prog aspect of Coheed, I've got the crazy, weird, shreddy stuff of Dance Gavin Dance, and then the heavy stuff. Like it all just hits me in a weird way to where, like, I don't know, I just try to write something and see if it comes up a certain way, and if I like it, I do. If not, I'll go for something else. With BlackWater, so far, like I have a demo for a new song, like kind of structured out, not all of it, but written, and I've shown the guys, like I demoed it, and I kind of go in with the intent of being like, okay, heavy, not too hard, because I want to make sure it's going to be something that if Brandon's going to sing and play, he's able to do. If not, we'll work around it. But I try to write it so that it's easy for everyone to play, and that sounds like us, but with obviously my kind of push or take on it, like with my influences as well, if that makes sense.
Very understandable as well, and just compared to like what Ben was saying, like with like the bands he was talking about, where it's more that post grunge alt metal style, where you were kind of going into it's initially. I mean, you're saying like metal kid, like metalcore, when you're talking about August Burns Red, As I Lay Dying, All That Remains, and you get into more of the prog rock, math rock stuff. And the one thing I actually enjoy about that is just. And the reason I always want to bring this up is because when you were coming together as a band and you all kind of have that similar but different tastes, where it's you're all within rock, you're all within metal, but then you go kind of like try and break it up into more subgenres. That's where the differentiation comes in. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, you know, mixing it in with your music as well, it's just, you never know what kind of different, interesting little things that someone can add to a song, that someone can add to the like album or EP as a whole, and all of a sudden this one little thing can end up taking it to a whole new level. And you maybe you didn't recognize it at first, but that's just because now that you're writing it, you know, you have another member in there with a different influence. It just adds more to it and adds more possibility.
Right, exactly. And then the other thing of that too is, so like I'm not by any means like a good singer, but like I can sing. And coming into it now, you know, with me doing it, I'm one who's like trying to push to be a better singer for Brandon, for myself. Like I take vocal lessons now. I'm big on that. And now that I'm with Brandon, he's got someone else in the band that sings. You know, he's able to help have someone write new harmonies with them, new melodies. Like, so it's a whole new thing for Brandon as well, and for me helping co-write someone vocally too.
Yeah, and then you can work that like compare and contrast vocal style as well.
Exactly.
So that does work, and now it looks like because I tried doing something to help with Brandon, just make sure he didn't go. I tried to mute him, and it worked, but now I can't unmute him.
Oh shit!
And I'm clicking. I'm like, come on, this looks. I wanted to lead into something with him, but I just didn't want all the static. And I'm like, this is not going well.
That I'll take full responsibility for that one. Sorry about that.
Alrighty, well, we might have to just potentially, honestly, kick him out and just have him like join back in somehow.
Yeah, I texted him and told him to join again. My bad. That's on me.
Okay. But Taylor, just because we're on this right now and you brought up August Burns Red and As I Lay Dying, the things I gotta ask about this is because As I Lay Dying came out with their comeback album in 2019. August Burns Red came out with Guardians earlier this year. What were your thoughts on both those albums?
With August Burns Red, I definitely wasn't surprised, because to me, they've consistently kept every album good. Like, I think their new albums are great in a lot of aspects, but to me, you can't beat the classics. Like, you can't beat Constellations, all that stuff, dude. I love those albums to death, and like Leveler and stuff. But they surprised me really well, and a lot of their writing is actually done by different band members in weird ways. Like, a lot of their writing's done by like the drummer and the and their bass player Dustin Davidson. But he's like a musician. Like their bass player plays drums, he plays guitar, he does everything. He writes a lot of their stuff. And then I found out JB actually does all their drum demoing from the start of songs, and then Matt finishes them and like puts his taste in them. But with As I Lay Dying, it's funny because like I actually have not dug that deep into that new album yet because I completely forgot that they made a comeback album. Because didn't they? As I Lay Dying was one that had the lead singer went to jail, right?
Yeah, when Tim Lambesis went to jail for allegedly hiring someone to try and kill his estranged wife. Yeah. And they went to jail for, I think he was in there for about 4.5 years or 3.5 years or something. It was like 3 to 5 years or something like that. Yeah, and then it came out, and then they came out with their Shaped by Fire album in September of last year. And if you haven't dug into it, this is what I'll say about it if you haven't really dug into it. Because I always do a review of like my top 10 albums of the year, my top 5 worst albums of the year kind of thing.
You do those posts for that, yeah. Yeah,
As I Lay Dying, Shaped by Fire was my number 2 favorite album from last year. It came in at number 2. So I'll definitely say take a listen to it, especially if you
take a listen, yeah, because I love their band. Like I used to learn a lot of covers of that, like a lot of their songs. I loved it.
Yeah, and now to the phone because I gotta go with this. All right, Brandon, you're up. So when it came to
I'm here.
So when it came to you growing up, when it came to you starting out as a musician, and of course going forward into today, what was the kind of music that you really listened to, and the kind of music that really got you into being a musician and basically creating the sound that BlackWater has today?
Oh, okay. Well, when I was real young, I used to listen to just like classic rock and like grunge music, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, all that kind of stuff. And that's when I started wanting to learn how to play guitar, like when I used to listen to that kind of stuff when I was real young. But my favorite band probably of all time is definitely Alter Bridge. And I'm sure the guys in the band knew I was going to say that. But yeah, they're probably like my biggest influence when writing music. And I think me and Ben are really similar on like the bands we like, and like Taylor, he likes Coheed and Thrice and all that, and you can definitely like tell that kind of style's been put into our music since he's joined the band. So I think all of those are kind of meshing together. But yeah, like Alter Bridge, like Chevelle, Seven Dust. Let's see, I loved Red Sun Rising when they were a band. Let's see, Saint Asonia, which
yes,
used to be 3 Days Grace lead singer and Stain's guitar player. They now formed a band called Saint Asonia. They're one of my new favorite bands. But yeah, pretty much bands like that.
That also excites me as well because, like I mentioned with Taylor, with As I Lay Dying, Shaped by Fire, my second favorite album from 2019. A Flawed Design from Saint Asonia, I believe I had that at number 4 on the year. And Alter Bridge's Walk the Sky was my favorite from the whole entire year.
Walk the Sky was so good. I didn't start
really good
until that album, honestly, because of Brandon. And it blew me away how good it was.
It's really good.
So I mean, that's
my favorite from last year.
But I've got a little quick question for you, Brandon, in regards to the two between Saint Asonia and Alter Bridge, especially with both their albums that came out last year, because I had a little bit of a conundrum trying to figure this out when it came down to which album cover of those two was better, because they were both fantastic album covers, but it's like, okay, which one was better?
Which albums was it?
Saint Asonia's Flawed Design and Alter Bridge's Walk the Sky.
I definitely think I like the Alter Bridge album cover better, but
that album cover,
good cover.
Yeah, that's the one I got to disagree with you. I love Flawed Design with a burning passion. That album cover was that might be the best album cover I've ever seen. It was perfect.
Oh yeah, it was. Whoever did that graphic design was flawless on that.
Oh yeah.
It's Mark Tremonti's brother. He does all their album designs and all their graphics and stuff.
Oh, really?
So,
I know that.
Yeah. The album cover really matched the album, like the music, which is like pretty sweet when that happens. Like you could definitely, it's like the whole album is based on just like kind of like higher power and like an afterlife type of feel, and the album cover, like Walking on the Sky, definitely like matched the whole tone of the album, the feel. I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and especially listen to songs like In the Deep and Godspeed. I mean, that really does make a lot of sense. But
Oh yeah.
when it comes down to Alter Bridge too, when it comes down to like the construction of their songs, you know it's going to be absolutely fantastic and nearly flawless because either Miles Kenny's writing it or Mark Tremonti's writing it, and it's really tough for them to really kind of go in like a negative route.
Oh yeah.
I've never been disappointed.
So then when it comes to, first kind of coming up with the sound that BlackWater has, did you really take a lot of inspiration from from that kind of like more hard rock scene, especially like that, 2000s hard rock, especially now jumping into like 2010s hard rock, but it's, more of that, continuation of 2000 hard rock with bands like Alter Bridge, with bands like Saint Asonia, because again, listen to Saint Asonia. For me, I really think it's like, this is like 3 Days Grace 2.0. If Adam didn't leave 3 Days Grace, this is what they would have been doing.
Exactly. I love the guitar heavy riff rock type of music. I don't like a lot of keyboards or backtracks or anything like that. I just like the guitar heavy riff basically.
Brandon likes it raw dog style, man. Very, very raw and very live.
Well, because now you've been taking a look at like what I wrote like for my whole entire like really going through it on Cold Home, and I'm looking at instrumental. I'm like, part of it kind of reminds me of like a slower 3 Days Grace style song, and I'm like, okay, now this makes so much more sense. But then again, that also
definitely got some 3 Days Grace influence into our music too. Especially some of the songs on our last EP Overflow, some of the heavier ones on that. Definitely got some influence from Adam Gontier or Saint Asonia / 3 Days Grace.
Yeah, but then like I'm taking a look at some of the stuff too. It's like that I really wrote for, like, when I think about it, just kind of how it all plays into those influences as well, is I can easily see where that hard rock style comes in, because that's kind of like when I was listening to your guys' music and listening to it from the Small Band Saturday intro to, preparing for this whole entire podcast as well. Like, it clearly saw that bass was in that hard rock style, but there's also other influences in there, and especially with Ben being the other writer at that point. I mean, just kind of more of that melodic sense that like a Breaking Benjamin style would have had. There's some post-grunge stuff in there as well that I can easily see. And then, of course, now that you got Taylor writing music as well, I'm very curious to see how that, growing up, listening to a lot of that metalcore stuff with August Burns Red, All That Remains, As I Lay Dying comes in, but then also some of the more of that prog rock, post-hardcore stuff with like Coheed and Cambria, Dance Gavin Dance, and Thrice would come into it. And you guys got so many different things that you can play off of as well that all have a lot of the same bass to it as well.
Exactly.
So when it comes to really mixing that, all your different influences in to really create your own sound, and also for Taylor, for you to add on the current sound that BlackWater already has, it's just bringing more to the table and possibilities. It's just increasing that.
Right. Yeah. It's awesome. And then the fact that too, like with bringing all those like different, influences, genres in, like when we do certain covers for big shows or whatever, it's like, oh, we can throw in this one. Oh, we can throw in this one. It's all going to mesh well because we're a heavy rock band and all those influences fly in together. So it gives us a good, like artillery basically of just having songs ready for a show and being able to manipulate our set to whatever environment or show we're going to play. It's really good.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process too, because on the first EP that BlackWater released, I had come into the band when most of that stuff had been written, and I've been a drummer my whole life. For 20 plus years, I've been a drummer. And when I stepped in to play bass for BlackWater, that was the first time that I had really dove into really playing the bass. Now I'd like, I think maybe I have like, a natural rhythm being a drummer. So I was like, bass, I could probably hold a rhythm down on a bass. So, a lot of those songs had been written. I went in and kind of, laid, whatever bass influence and, any influence at all into those first tracks on that first EP. And so it kind of took some shape as we got into the studio and things kind of started to mold together a little bit. Like, okay, Ben's kind of start getting used to playing the bass and we're kind of starting to gel here. And then the next EP, Overflow, which came out not too long ago, was kind of a hybrid of Brandon and I, as opposed to the first one was more so just, it was already there. And this next one, which whenever we decide to do this next one, is going to be an even bigger evolution because of what we've added since then. So it's still evolving, and it's always going to evolve. And like you said, all those influences can come in together. And and I even I throw punk and classic rock type influence, and some of because I'm not the best bass player in the world, but I think that for what BlackWater is, I can hold my own, and so can everybody else, and it blends together really well, I think, and we all learn and vibe from each other, and it makes for it's really going to make for something special, even further down the road.
Yeah, especially when it comes to that for like real full album that you guys are like you said you've been working on for a little bit now, and just especially with Taylor helping out writing that as well, seeing how that comes in. One other thing I kind of want to mention before I really jump into my next thing, because I kind of have a total idea of like, okay, I know how this podcast is going to run, but when you're talking about constructing your shows, and like especially with everyone having different influences, but all those influences still having the same base to it, when it comes to like trying different things and like like cater, like basically like setting, like creating your set list for shows, it's like, okay, I want to put this cover in here just because it's perfect for this kind of crowd and it works and we can easily pull that off. Like a band that I think that can do something, that has done something like that I saw this happen live and it worked out incredibly well, was A Day to Remember, because they got that metalcore, pop punk, pop rock, full influence in there, and then all of a sudden they cover My Own Worst Enemy by Lit, and it sounded just perfect. It's just like, holy.
That's another band I love, dude. A Day to Remember is so good with that stuff. I actually wanted to cover one of their songs with them. I planned to bomb the Panhandle.
Oh yes,
I love that song, dude. Oh, I love that song.
But of course, now that we're getting more into the music, and I am so ready to get more into, like, really dive into the music as well right now. And I want to start out with that self-titled EP, because Brandon, with you being the primary writer, especially for that self-titled EP, what was it like writing that self-titled EP, specifically the song Cold Home, because that was the song we featured as the Song of the Day feature of Small Band Saturday back on November 23rd, 2019. And that's when I was like, that was the one that, like, when I listened to it, that was the one from you guys that I really wanted to feature. I'm like, this is the one. So I kind of want to really dig deep into that one. But not only that, but also that whole entire EP as a whole.
Okay. Well, most of the first EP, I wrote pretty much most of the songs throughout my years of playing music, pretty much by myself. I played in a band when I was like 13 and 14 with the first drummer of BlackWater, Travis, and me and him kind of got back together and started jamming, just writing some music. I wrote most of the songs like on acoustic guitar, and then transferred them to electric and all the lyrics and words and stuff like that. And the song Cold Home, I don't know where I got the riff from. I was just kind of jamming, playing a new guitar amp I got and a new guitar, and I was just, started playing guitar a lot more. I just kind of came up with a riff. And I definitely was like inspired a lot by Mark Tremonti on like most of the like kind of like the structure of the song, a little bit of chugging in there, and the vocals a little bit kind of just inspired by his like vocal style. And I don't know, it just kind of took place and molded it together over time. And once Ben joined in the band, he's really good at like structuring songs from, beginning to end. So he kind of, added his thoughts to all the songs and Cold Home, and kind of just like helped mold it to what it is and what it came out to be in the studio.
Alrighty, because I do kind of want to tell you guys a little bit, because you're the only, I think this might be the only Small Band Saturday one that I specifically remember exactly where I was when I had the post for it, because most of the time for these posts, it's either like, oh, I'm at home, especially like during the whole entire COVID-19 thing, like I was at home and I just put these out, or I'd be just finishing up in the gym on Saturday morning and putting them out there. But yours was so much different, because when I posted it, I was in my dad's truck at a gas station. And I remember this specifically just because of what we were doing that day, was because I went to University of Minnesota. We were driving from Milwaukee to Chicago to watch the Gophers versus Northwestern football game. But I just specifically remember because I'm like, what band was I supposed to do for Small Band Saturday? And I looked up, I was like, I remember seeing the BlackWater. I remember seeing the album cover, and then like what I do for, I'm like, oh shit, it's this band. Oh, today's gonna be a good day. And don't get me wrong, it was a real good day. So definitely that's one of the main reasons why I remember, because it all coincides with that. But going in on Cold Home, because I was trying to figure out like the vocals on this as well, and figuring out like what this kind of feels like, and kind of what if artists I could potentially and vocals I could potentially equate this to, just to kind of give everyone a little bit of an idea of what it sounds like. And there was one vocalist I was stuck on. I'm like, but it's like a mixture of someone else as well. And when you said Mark Tremonti, it clicked right then and there, because it was like a mixture between Mark Tremonti and then Lane Staley from Alice in Chains. Like it just mixed in there, actually. like Lane Staley trying to do hard rock, because it had like a slightly grungy pain to it, especially in the vocal of the whole track. And I really did like it, because for the song is like, it's calling, like listening to the instrumentation, it's kind of calling for that little bit of slight pain in the vocals to really amplify everything. And it fits in perfect. And just a little bit of roughness that was in there in the vocals as well, especially with what the rest of the instrumentation was doing, was the perfect way to go about it. At least in my mind.
Thanks, man. That's cool. Appreciate that.
I wasn't there for that song, but I'm there now. That song sounds way different live now, because there's no lead guitar. I mean, there's like lead little harmonies in the recording, but like I have a complete lead guitar part that's in that song that I do live that's not recorded at all.
Would you potentially re-record that song and add that part in there at some point?
We actually talked about that. We weren't sure if we wanted to do that or not. It's something we were definitely open to, because it makes a big difference for sure.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing a little acoustic EP, just something we can do like in the basement somewhere to put out material, because of this COVID thing. You know, like every band out there is trying to figure out like, all right, well, we're not really playing much, so what do we do? You want to put an acoustic track out, or do you want to put like a video? You want to do a live session? Like, what do you want to do? So, you know, the idea is about, you know, coming up with retracking a song or whatever. There's been so many ideas thrown around there, and you know, you see a lot of bands doing a lot of different things, which has been great. You know, because people are on looking, you know, they're bored as shit. So people have been online looking at all this stuff. So, you know, it's definitely in the realm of possibilities, I think, to still do something like that. So, for sure.
Yeah, and that's definitely something we'll even get into further as well, because I do want to bring that up at some point. However, just because talking about Cold Home, I do kind of want to focus a little bit more on that, just to kind of complete the whole thought, I would say, about it.
Okay.
And really want to go more into like take a look at the instrumental as well, because I like I said like earlier, kind of starting out at like when you guys were talking about, you know, your influences, and when Brandon brought up that, you know, like the Saint Asonia influence. Thinking about Adam Gante with 3 Days Grace, like it sounded like that like slower style of a 3 Days Grace song, that especially during the Adam Gante days of it. So I'm just like, holy shit, now this is making so much more sense. And especially for someone like myself, where it's, you know, I'm not as big of an Alter Bridge fan as Brandon is, clearly. However, I do like the band. I like the sound, and trying to watch Mark Tremonti play the guitar on stage, 'cause I got to see them right before the pandemic hit, and I'm just like watching the guitar playing. I'm like, okay, I really don't know how to play guitar, and it's still kind of a foreign concept to me completely. And then there's that. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, something else.
He's next level, dude. It's crazy.
Oh, God, yeah. And then it's just like, then all of a sudden, you know, just thinking about like that, too. It's like, okay, because I love that hard rock sound. Then they bring in like the Adam Gante 3 Days Grace style. I love 3 Days Grace, especially when they had Adam Gante in the band, because that was kind of like my first real introduction to the current style of hard rock. So I was like, ooh, boy, this is awesome. Kind of getting in there. And that's why it really helped me. It really helped me kind of like get into your guys' music a little bit more now, thinking about it. And then listening to the verses, they kind of have that more melodic pace to them as well. But the guitars end up keeping up the pace. One thing I like about the construction of that song was what the drums were doing in the back, because if you guys wrote it like that classic like 4-beat measure, the fourth beat, it was always something different going on in there every single time. I don't know how that happened, but it just kept everything so fresh going through the whole entire song. It was something that was like, holy crap, like this is awesome. And then looking at the song, like because I always write a little overall, put it all together kind of thing, and this is what I had for it. I'm like, overall, you can see why this was the Small Band Saturday track that I really picked for him, because the hard rock sound is great, has a slightly darker feel to it, but I like it. It goes hard, and the vocals are done real well on something that the song is calling for. And this is the only one that I remember exactly where I was when I made the post for it. So I'm like, yeah, this is something that people should definitely listen to. So yeah, if you guys haven't listened to it, figure this out, because I don't know what the heck you guys are waiting for. Now let's talking to you, the listeners. Come on now.
Now I'm not going to argue with our gracious host.
Yeah, are you guys going to argue with me? Really? I mean, someone probably will at some point, but
it's fine. Everything's fine.
But then now, especially, like, I kind of want to just really jump into that Overflow EP, because it was released already in 2020. It was released, I mean, oddly enough, like really good timing right before the whole entire pandemic thing hit. So when it came to really writing it, because now, Ben, now you're a part of this EP, writing everything out of it and help working with Brandon as well to construct everything. What was it like, and what was the inspiration behind the Overflow EP?
I think the main thing I wanted to do was just take a step forward, in whatever capacity that could be, and I think just having a new set of ears and a fresh set of eyes in the band, helping write stuff, can do wonders for any project, and just putting the more minds you can put together in a collective, where everybody gets along and has some same ideas, but some different ideas. When you put those things together, the more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. But it was my first experience with really writing riffs and sometimes entire songs, or whether it's just a little bass riff here or a guitar riff here or there, or whatever it may be. It was my first kind of experience with it. Like I said, I'd always been a drummer. So in all the bands I've ever played in, I was just that guy kind of creating just the beat and maybe the arrangements or structures of songs, and not necessarily creating, riffs and writing on a guitar. So it was my first experience with that, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was very different for me. Not only was I learning to play bass, I mean, I had some songs written from just years ago that I kind of dabbled on acoustic guitar, but I'm not much of a guitarist. But me and Brandon were able to kind of get together and take some of those things that I had written previously and kind of mesh them with how BlackWater was sounding at the time, and kind of push all that stuff together to where it was. There was a song or two that was primarily written by me, or a song or two that was primarily written by Brandon, but for the most part, each idea that was presented to one another was collaborated on, more than it was kind of like, the first album Brandon wrote pretty much himself. This one was more of a collaboration of more minds. And it was really cool for me. It was really cool for me. And I'm really excited. Obviously we've got Taylor now, so that's just going to evolve even more.
And I'll jump into Brandon on this one as well. What was it like writing the Overflow EP now that you were collaborating with Ben on a lot of these tracks?
It was nice. Me and Ben, we went over to his house and kind of just like put these songs together, stayed up late doing it, demoing them, kind of learning how to record on our own, just like demos and stuff. And it was fun. We put a lot of these songs together a while ago, and then like our drummer kind of left our band during all that. After we had most of the songs wrote, and then we had to find new members and start over again basically, and then get back to writing the songs, and then get into the studio finally to record them. So it took a little bit longer than we thought, because we had to basically rebuild. But I mean, that was for the better. And once Ryan, the drummer, and Taylor joined, it helped make the songs a lot better, I feel like, because they added their great ideas to it. Ryan did a really good job on the drums, and it was a fun experience.
We were really fortunate. Oh, sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
You can go ahead, Ben. talking and stuff.
I was just saying it was good. No, it was a pretty quick process, believe it or sometimes you can struggle with that, with bringing in new members, but bringing in Taylor and Brian around the same time, all four of us getting on the same page was a pretty quick process. And we were fortunate that it happened that way. Sometimes, you can get new people and you don't jive, or shit's just not going the right ways, but we clicked immediately. And, Taylor had played with us before, and I've known Ryan, pretty much my whole life. So we all kind of gelled. It kind of snapped together fairly quick.
So that's the kind of chemistry you need, especially when something like that happens.
Yeah.
And also, when they joined the band, we actually had a bunch of show. We never missed a show. We had like a show. We lost our drummer and had a show like that week. So Taylor, rehearsed with us. Ben went to the drums for a show, or two shows, I think, actually.
Two.
And we still didn't miss or cancel any shows because we had some good shows that we didn't want to miss out on, some national shows. And it went together really quickly, and the shows actually sounded really good. And we had, it felt like we played better than we ever did just within a week of jamming together.
Yeah, we were like, this arrangement's pretty good with the three of us, but I feel like we should still shift. That was really good. Taylor, you were awesome on bass. It was cool with having me on drums, but I feel like there's another combination that we can do. So we need to find another drummer and put Taylor on guitar. And, it was a neat process. It was kind of cool switching up like that for a couple shows and then switching back. And it's like, okay, now here's our lineup,
And especially with how quick it happened too. I mean, that's the most insane part of it all.
Did you say with how quick it happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of mind boggling. You know what I mean? Usually you bring in one, even, we brought in two, but you bring in one new member and sometimes it can take a little while. We brought in two and it just, it was pretty nice. We didn't miss shows. We kind of just stayed on the high speed train that we were on at the time and just kept going and moved forward. And and now here we are.
Yeah, because I've heard a couple other stories like that with some of the bands I've talked to as well. Even the one I talked to the episode before this one, it was like their vocalist, like his first show with the band, he had a day and a half or 2 days to learn he had to learn like their whole entire set. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, what band's like the headliner band for the show that we're playing? Oh, it's We Came as Romans. It's just like, oh, well, shit. Okay, here we go.
Right.
So when you guys are playing some of these national shows, and kind of trying all these different combinations, were there other bands that were playing at these shows, these venues as well, that were, more high profile? That's like, okay, we're trying this out, and also while we're trying to make sure we play well because we're on the bill with these other bands that are going to be bringing in a good amount of people to basically help listen to our shit.
Exactly. It was a cool experience. When I came in learning those songs, I came in, I learned a lot of songs too, but I already knew a lot of the root notes for all the songs anyway. So it was a super easy process of just kind of learning them to be able to practice them with them. Because I only practiced once or twice with them before the shows, and that was it. And then when it came with guitar, surprisingly, I wrote the leads for those songs with the help of them, but pretty fast. I'd say I wrote all the leads for Overflow in probably slightly less than 2 months.
Really?
And then, as I was finishing writing them, we went in the studio and tracked them. And the other part of that big help was from the guy who did our album and recorded our EP. It was Micah Carley. He's the original lead guitarist from Hawthorne Heights up in Troy, Ohio. And he actually did our recordings for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
he was
a big help too in the orchestrating of the little things and the little ear candies you'll hear on the EP. He's an amazing producer.
So I got to jump back to you, Taylor, on this one, because when it comes down to the Overflow EP, because Ben and Brandon already had the song ideas written out and working on them when you joined the band. I think that was the way it was there. But then when it came to adding your stuff to it and then adding and also understanding what the direction the band was going in at that point, what were your feelings like on that? And then what was it like to kind of add a little bit of the stuff, the leads that you were writing to it? Basically, what was the feel like that? And then how did the rest of the band kind of, it had to have worked because the EP is out. So
right. It was cool because, like I said before, I came in with this experience of them being real leisurely and being let's just do what you want to do and we'll see how we like it. Most bands don't tell you that. So I was really, really fortunate to be able to have that opportunity. And it was one of those things where it's like, you guys want to get together and maybe try to jam write some of this out? Be like, yeah. And it was always one of those situations where it's like, all right, hold my beer, let me try this. And we demoed it out, and every time like we'd write 3/4 of something we liked and we'd nitpick something, we're like, we know we need to fix that or whatever. I come back the next day and we'd hash it out real quick, and we're just like, that's it. Like it was just like an instant thing with writing my leads for some reason. Like every time I'd write a part, it was like keep this part, do this, and switch it. But like we always really liked it. Like we didn't have too much fling with anything I really wrote like that we didn't like. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, so it's like you wrote something and the band just like, we're down for this, but maybe we can try taking this in this little bit of a direction, this little bit of a direction.
Like the little tweaks here and there. There was definitely a couple little tweaks and stuff and changes. And there took times where like we didn't finish those little tweaks or changes until like we already had shows. So we'd plan the way we had them. Like, well, this is it for now, so let's play it like this. And then certain people would tell us at the show, like, I really like that part of the song. I'm like, cool, I know I'm keeping that part now. And then like stuff like that. But like, and then going into the studio, obviously it was like a different ball game with that, because we'd have this part set in stone, and then like Micah would be like, you should try doing this one little different thing. And all of a sudden it's this huge catastrophic difference. Not catastrophic, it's not a negative term, but it's just big like difference that just like hits musically when you hear it and you're like, whoa, I didn't think about that. So it was
a diabolical difference.
that big collaboration coming in another way too.
Yeah, that's it. And I absolutely kind of enjoy hearing that like you guys had these ideas and you were, okay, we got to play a live show now, but we want to play the song. So you were able to basically kind of have a dry run with it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what comedians do when they go out on the road and they're trying to like come up with their new hour and like really work on some of their specials. Because I mean, I've gone out and seen comedians perform as well. And all of a sudden, like I see their specials that they come up with after the fact, that it's like, okay, this one story I heard, they basically tweaked it, and all of a sudden like it's funnier than what I heard. It's like, okay, yeah. But they kept the parts of the story that when I heard it before, like was on a special, like holy shit, like those parts were the parts that I liked, and they kept them. And I think like Gabriel Iglesias, I saw him a couple of years before or a year and a half before his last special came out, and it was just like this story when he smoked weed with Snoop Dogg live on his TV show. I'm just like, oh my god, I heard that one. And he kept all the good parts.
I haven't heard about that. And so it's like the same thing too about like almost like another analogy to bring it to. It's like test driving a car. You can go test drive it and see what the people around you think, see how you feel about it, gauge the reaction. And then if you want that car or not, or for like, hey, like I didn't like this feature of the car, maybe I could change it. Like.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you already got those like reviews and feedback before you even released it, so you could actually have the time to potentially work on it and see, okay, maybe when we played a live show, maybe the people liked something like this. However, it just didn't feel necessarily right. So all of a sudden, but we kind of have an idea of where we want to go with it. Or it's just like, holy shit, that was my favorite part. It's like, okay, we're keeping that. We're going to work off of that.
Yeah, it's mainly, there was like one or two songs where it was work off of that, but a lot of them, I don't know. It was just one of those weird things that like I just tried. I didn't go into it trying to be like, I'm going to write this certain way. But I kind of do, like I said, in the demos, like I kind of go into writing like, okay, I want to write for BlackWater. Like this needs to be a BlackWater song. But like as I heard the music, I tuned out the fact that this is BlackWater. And I was like, I'm just going to try to write what I think sounds good and feels good and gauge how they feel. And like I said, everything I wrote, like for the most part, they honestly loved it bit by bit. So I made those small tweaks and I tried, do some different style of stuff. Like I tried to incorporate some guitar tapping and stuff. Like I did that in the song Too Far Gone. And I did a lot of tapping in that and didn't know what parts to do it correctly at until like after like 3 shows. But everybody was like, I like that tapping thing. That was really cool. And even Ben's girlfriend, Nikki, said that same thing too. And I was like, okay, cool. The girlfriend seal of approval? Hell yeah, we're keeping this one. But like stuff like that, like I try to do different things guitar stylistically that I don't normally write, but still keep it something normal that I didn't go into with closed-minded ideas. And it just works super well. It's just better than I expected.
Yeah, and it's also kind of somewhere, and with the albums that I get to I end up going through and reviewing as well. It's one thing I always enjoy is when all of a sudden the sound is like there's a specific aspect of the song that's created, and it's created like a certain mood or a certain tone or just a certain feel that you're really trying to drive after with that song. And then all of a sudden the rest of the instrumentation just plays out with that mood. It's just kind of like, okay, you found a spot on the song where you wanted to, where it is the base of that song. And then however it's working, you're letting the rest of the instrumentation, the rest of the way the song is constructed to follow along with that and really let the song speak to itself instead of trying to force it to do something. Exactly. And then the vocals follow doing the same thing as well.
Right. And that's what my biggest thing as a musician, and as a songwriter in general, is I strive for invoking emotion with whoever's listening to that song, whether it be myself or some other person, my bandmates. Like, I want that song without any lyrics to tell you a story and make you really feel something to where you can interpret it and you feel connected with that song. Like, that's my biggest thing with songwriting.
And when it comes to those of us who listen to music all the time, like, you know,
right,
the host of this illustrious show,
my gracious host,
yeah, it's like the stuff I listen to. It's just when I listen to it, it always is going to evoke some sort of emotion, whatever it might be. Like when I listen to, like, because right now I've got, like, when I'm in the gym, I've got a playlist. I call it Metalcore Madness, and it's like every song there. Like, I built that playlist for the specific point of working out, listening to metalcore. So it's like, okay, there's a. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, it's like, all right, let's start this out. All right, what's going to be the first song on here? Oh, it's Shadow Moses by Bring Me the Horizon. Okay. And then I've got like 3 songs that came out this year with like Erase Me from Make Them Suffer, The Ghost Inside's Aftermath, and then Polaris's Above My Head. It's just like, okay, you know, like they evoke all these different feelings. And then there's other songs where you listen to them, or I assume it's just like, oh, they're going to make me think of somebody or make me, you know, kind of be more reflective. Or other songs like Savior by Rise Against, which is my favorite song of all time. It's like that song makes me feel like I'm me. Like there's not, like you can't get away from it. But when you listen to music, it's everyone listens to music to amplify an emotion or to try and tell a story or to try and describe to people all of a sudden, because even when it comes to music, you're trying to describe a feeling to somebody that you can't really describe, but you find a song that accurately represents exactly what you're feeling. All of a sudden you have basically you're allowing your feelings to have a voice through other people's music. And that, I mean,
and that's how it is with a lot of big other songwriters. If you watch a lot of interviews with other, you know, big musicians and songwriters or whatever, like, you know, their big thing in saying is, you know, like when I write it, it's like, sure, I could tell you that this is how I wrote it about. This is what it means to me. But like they're big on saying, you know, it's not my song. This is everyone else's song, because everyone's going to relate to a different story or a different lyric in some other way that tells that story to them, that they get drawn to that emotion. Yeah,
and I think a great example of that is if you ever have a time on Spotify I'm wearing the shirt right now with Motionless in White on their Graveyard Shift album, because on Spotify they have the commentary for each song. And if you go to the last song on the Graveyard Shift, which is Eternally Yours, which is my favorite Motionless in White song, it's because Chris is talking about how, like, kind of like how he wrote the song, but he's like, the meaning of the song, I don't want to tell you what I actually wrote the song about because I want to let you find the meaning in it. And it's just like, holy shit. It's a killer song. I absolutely love it. It's a song that made me a fan of the band. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. But it's like, it's those songs that are just like, when you instantly connect with them, that it's just like, okay, this is awesome. I'm in.
Exactly. And that's like the biggest goal of a songwriter, I feel like, to make people feel that emotion and that connection.
And I mean, and the other thing too is, like, especially when you're writing songs as well, it's just you're writing, you're creating these moods, you're creating these feelings, and whenever it comes to writing the lyrics as well, I mean, you're always gonna end up telling a story about something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was the way I described it too. I have a buddy of mine who, him and his dad actually teach a songwriting workshop. And I always told them, because I wanted to learn from them a little bit, was that, you know, every song, no matter what it is, it's got a story. And it's up to you to interpret that. And they're like, that's 100% correct. That's what any songwriter is going to teach you. Every song is a story.
Oh, easily. And I mean, that's just why people listen to music. Because it basically, it'll tell a story, it'll give an emotion, but it'll give you a way to relate what you're feeling in the world at that moment and amplify it.
And then kind of have that escape too, like whoever, like their vice or however, you know, would it be if you're depressed and you want to listen to some angsty stuff or whatever, or if you're hyped, like at the gym and you want to go hard, like when I run, like I listen to Senses Fail because I'm like, let's get it, you know, punk, you know. And then like I have days where I'm chilling and relaxing. I love listening to explosions in the sky, like ambient, real chill. I love that stuff.
Oh, that's the way to go. That's the way to go about it. Where and of course, I mean, if I ask you that same question, Ben, like, do you, like the music that you listen to, like, you know, it's like when you really connect with it. It's or same thing with you, Brandon. When you really connect with music, it's just like when it comes to writing as well. Are you trying to do the same thing where it comes to trying to make music so that people are going to have an emotional reaction to it and relate to it, so that all of a sudden it's just something that's going to basically is going to create a better connection between not only you and your music, but between your music and the fans as well.
Yeah, I think generally the way I look at music in general, I guess, anything that is going to do just that for me, anything that's going to make me feel something or something that I can relate to in my own way, whether it's one small little lyric or a really cool little guitar lick or a little quick drum pattern, whatever, anything in a song that I can relate to or that catches, my ear and my eyes, that's a success. I mean, there you go. That's that. I like that band. I like that riff. I like that, just because of that one little thing. And that's all it takes for me is it can just be one, it can be an upward inflection on the tail end of like a verse lyric, just real quick, some kind of snippet. And it's like, you got me. I'm hooked. I want the rest of it, So for me, it's just something that easy. And, you like to try to recreate those feelings when you write songs. You know what I mean? Not just for yourself, but like Taylor said, for other people. It's like if I can catch them, just for a second, a little 4 measures, or 4 beats in a measure. If I can catch them for that long, then maybe I can catch them for longer. And they'll listen to more and connect more. That's what I do, and I hope that everybody else can have that experience too.
Yeah, and I think like a song that I'm thinking of right now that came out this year that's a perfect example of that is, and kind of like what you're talking about, like just one specific part that kind of just stands out above the rest that kind of just brings you in, is Aftermath from the Ghost Inside. Because when you get to the bridge and Jonathan Vigil sings Clean, and listening to the lyrics on that and how the clean vocals really evoke that emotion, that's the moment where it's like, that you just connect with the song, and then you just like after the first listen, then you go into it more and you really take a look at the lyrics that they're singing as well. Just like it just all comes together so well.
Exactly. Yep, you got it.
So, and then jumping to Brand on this one, when you write music, do you do something very similar to that, where you're trying to create emotional connection not only with the music that you're writing and to yourself, but as well with the music that you're writing to the fans that are listening to the music as well?
Yeah, whenever I write music, I usually am trying to tell a story or just try to, tell how I'm feeling during that time period, and pretty much just put the lyrics out there, put the words out there, and I just want people to, take the lyrics and, kind of just make it up for themselves of what the song's about. And that's what a lot of people do. And when I go to listen to one of my favorite band's new albums, I just always am excited to, hear like what their new story is or what they're about to tell in their lyrics. And it is sometimes emotional when just some bands. I don't get very emotional over many bands, but
you're crying, Brandon.
Some bands more than others. Yeah, I'm trying to hold back the tears right now.
Hey, quit crying, you little bitch. I'm just kidding.
We all have those bands where you listen to it and you have like, just shed a tear. Just shed a tear.
A little tattoo right here.
Say, Brandon, do you have anything more on that? I'm just because I can't. I'm just seeing the phone right now, but I'll add the picture back in there in post production.
Yeah, it might be all messed up because I got out of my car and now my phone's plugged in because I was about to die.
Oh, that's totally fine. I can always mess with this stuff so much more. But now kind of want to really jumping back into the Overflow EP, because you guys released it on March 11th, 2020. What was the reaction from the BlackWater fans and everyone else that listened to it? What was the reaction you got off of it, and basically how did it make you feel?
It was a very unusual time to release something because the COVID thing hit. So, we played this show right before things got shut down. The show was great. The whole night was great. Everybody seemed to respond really well to it. We had a great time. It seemed like everyone had a great time. We sold some gear and, got some stuff out there and just had a really, really awesome EP release show. And then everything got shut down. And
then the world went to shit.
Yeah. I think I think initially, at least my thought process was, man, this is actually a really good time to release an album because everybody's going to be online looking for shit. But didn't happen for a few weeks. You know, for the first couple of weeks, everybody was just focused on the virus and everything was getting shut down. And that's all people were reading about, talking about, looking at is just that shit. So I think our album or our EP may have kind of, got forgotten about, you know, for a little while because there was so much other shit. So my initial thought was, man, this is going to be great for us. Well, it really wasn't. So I think sometime in the future, we may have some kind of a re-release situation or try to do another like EP release show and re-hype that. Cause I think some of the energy got sucked out by all this bullshit going on.
I mean,
very unusual.
Yeah, because I would suggest doing something like that as well. Because even like with with the music that I was looking at that time, right when that happened, because you guys released it on the 11th, 2 days later, the album I worked on reviewing that came out that day was the new Code Orange album. And looking back at it, like that one ended up getting real forgotten about just because of how important like everything ended up getting in that, and just with the COVID-19 and everything. And then even 2 weeks later when In This Moment released Mother, that ended up getting forgot about rather quickly. However, then the next week, all of a sudden in April, people were starting to like, okay, now that March is over, looking towards the new thing, and they kind of want to get away from all the COVID stuff. And that's when August Burns Red released Guardians, and the band Red released Declaration in the same day. And it's like, that's when things kind of like, when people were starting to really focus more on, okay, we're tired of COVID. We're tired of Tiger King.
Else.
We need something new.
Right.
We don't want no more Carole Baskin. We need something new.
More Carole Baskin.
Right. And I would probably think if we could have done it another way, if we would have known, we maybe would have waited a little bit to release it. But hindsight is, 2020. So what the fuck you can do?
Oh, easily.
Yeah, the actual day that we had the show, the two support bands dropped off of the show because of all the concern, and everyone was freaking out. But like, we had Ben's other band open the show like last minute, and once we got there, I mean, it was the best show we actually ever had, like in our hometown, and we made like the most money we ever did and brought in the most people. So it was like the last show before everything got shut down. It actually turned out really well, but after that, everything was crazy, and it kind of just hurt the actual statistics of our EP. But a couple months later, we finally announced this festival show that we're doing down in Virginia. It's one of the biggest rock festivals left this year, and we actually, when we announced that, it kind of blew us up as to new fans listening to our new music, and that really gave us a boost. And ever since then, we've had the EP's been doing better actually, so it's pretty surprising actually.
Yeah,
very strange times.
It is very strange time, but all comes down to just, especially with COVID-19 and the pandemic and everything. When you guys released the EP, of course, again, like we just said, it was like during the weirdest time you could possibly release it, just given the fact of everyone's attention being so focused in on that. And then, of course, hindsight being 2020, maybe if you release it 3 weeks to a month later when everyone's trying to look for new stuff, it could have worked. But however, that's hindsight. But when you guys ended up playing this show, saying it was one of your probably your biggest show to date, and then all of a sudden you announced that you're gonna be playing, what was the music festival again? Because I know you guys, I know Taylor, you told me earlier, but I just can't remember.
Blue Ridge Rock Festival.
Okay, yeah, Blue Ridge Rock Festival, and all of a sudden it's okay, now people see that you're on the lineup for it. It's okay, looking to, and fans are gonna be looking to see, okay, the people that are gonna be going there, they're gonna have the bands they want to go and see. But then, of course, there are going to be people okay, but before that, what bands are playing before that? Because, they might camp out at those stages, and it's they want to get into the music with the bands that are going to be on before the bands they want to listen to, or the bands they really came for. So all of a sudden, it's that just kind of adds to it, especially now you got new music out there for them to listen to. Okay, now I can see where the momentum's starting to pick up for Overflow.
Yeah, definitely was surprising. And everyone was all of a sudden commenting and saying that how much they loved it and sharing our music. And we're supposed to play right before All That Remains on the festival. So we're thinking maybe people will be camping out there because they're going to be one of the first big national bands during that day. So hopefully that will work out for us. And all the people that were that are already looking forward to seeing our set. So it's looking like it's going to turn out pretty good. And they still have to announce the 10 main top acts for the festival.
Yeah, they still have 10 national headliners for the top acts to announce, so they're doing it like bit by bit.
Oh, okay. But then on top of that, I'm just going with Brand saying, because I know we talked right before the podcast because you guys weren't sure if it was All That Remains was going on after you guys or if it was Motionless in White. But when it comes
Motionless in White headlining that stage.
Oh, well then there we go. Now that so
All That Remains is like the first national band like to play. We're playing right before them at like 5:30, and then Motionless in White supposed to be headlining that stage that we're playing on.
I'll say so for someone like myself, like going to it, if I was going to that festival, well, just because I don't know who else is there right now, but looking at it, just, I mean, taking it from my perspective, because of course, I'm wearing a Motionless in White t-shirt. I'd probably be one of the people to like camp out there pretty much like, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm here because I want to be in a great spot for Motionless in White. I don't want to deviate from that because I've done that multiple times, pretty much to make sure I had a good spot to see Rise Against. That was pretty much it for me.
I love Rise Against, dude.
I've seen him I think I've seen him 9 times so far. Yeah,
I've yet to see him. I'm pissed. I'm jealous.
Oh. All right, if there's a way I can get you to go see Rise Against live, Taylor, making it happen, and hopefully I can make it to that show as well because
hell yeah,
I'm going nuts. I mean, last time I saw him was at Riot Fest last year, and it was something where, God, they started. It was just you couldn't stand still because the pile was just constantly going forward.
Yeah, that's what I hear about. And I've seen all their
right.
live shows. Their fans just go insane.
Oh yeah, I was happy because I saw a little mosh pit for me. I'm like, yay, I can breathe in there, and it's a mosh pit. Yes. But because I got there, I got down to Douglas Park at like 3:30 ish, and Rise Against was going on at 7. And I think because the way they had the stages constructed was the 2 big stages were right next to each other. So the main stage was on the right, and the stage of Rise Against was on the left. And so I stayed at the stage on the left because all of a sudden, like, Testament was on the right. Then all of a sudden on the left, Here Comes the Story So Far. And I'm like, okay, I'll stay for the Story So Far. Then all of a sudden on the right, Anthrax is playing. But I'm like, I want to make sure I got my good spot for Rise Against.
Right.
And then there were a lot of people camping out at the other stage as well, because after Rise Against, the headliner for the day was going to be going on, and that was Slayer's last show in Chicago ever. So I was like, I was happy about it because I had it set up. But where I was going with that is, for someone like myself, like taking a look at that, like thinking about the lineup right now, I should probably look it up, but just want to make this worth it. So for myself, like, I really like seeing Motionless in White, and then all of a sudden getting a chance to see All That Remains as well. Yeah, I would definitely be camping out at that stage, and then I'd want to listen to some of the music that the other bands are going to be playing on that stage beforehand, so I can get into it and know kind of like, okay, what kind of show am I getting myself into? Want to jam out to some of this music and really get lost in the whole entire experience. So for someone like a fan like myself going to a show like that, yeah, I would definitely be like, there's going to be fans who are definitely be checking out the Overflow EP, and it seems like that is exactly what's happening.
Yeah, so the way we did it was, so we had the announcement and everything, and I went and I found that there was a Blue Ridge Rock fan zone group page. So I went on there. I was like, hey, like, maybe I'll just make a quick post to announce, like, this is my band BlackWater. No, hey, we're playing, like, just hoping to meet some new people. And that's all I went with. The intent of it was that post blew up, and I had like hundreds of comments, hundreds of people being like, oh my God, like, you guys got music. We checked in. They're like, your Spotify, like, your guys' music, awesome. And like, I kept texting them. I was like, this never happens. I was like, this is weird. And like, I had like, we gained like 30 or 40 or 50 Spotify followers like instantly. All these people like commenting on the original post from the festival saying like, everyone's talking about this BlackWater band. I want to go see them. And I'm like, is this real? This never happens.
It's all about just taking the opportunity as it presents itself, because and the other thing too is you can put a lot of money behind a certain type of promotion. You could put a lot of thought into it and do something, and it just doesn't work. But just doing something, that just putting it out there, you never know what's going to happen. Because with the YouTube channel, I'm starting to see more steady growth on it with the podcast. And all of a sudden, I had my first video last week that reached over 1,000 views organically, because I was trying to figure out if I like baby metal or not. That was the whole thing. And a bunch of fans were just like, they latched onto it, like, from baby metal. I'm like, oh, okay. I did get a couple of people that were like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay. That was about it. But basically what I'm going with that is when you're posting something like that on a fan page for that festival, and it's just something where, thinking about it, the fans are going to see that there's a band that's trying to connect with them. And they're going to see that as a genuine connection. It's not like, hey, we're going to be playing, listen to our music, because if you're going to be pushy like that, of course fans aren't going to want to listen to it. But if you're kind of, hey, we just want to meet some people before, we play, all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh, well, this is like an invitation. It's not like a forceful thing.
That's exactly how I treated it. It's like in the post, I was like, I'm just trying to have a good time. I'm trying to meet a bunch of new people this year. And then every other person that commented, they said they want to check it out. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, you guys got to stop by and say hi to us out there before or after we play and hang out. Like, come have a beer with us. Like, whatever. Like, I'm here to meet new people. I'm here to give an experience. I'm here to play a show. Like, I'm here to have a good time.
Yeah, see, if I saw a band that was going to post something on there and be like, hey, we're going to want to just meet some people, you said, maybe have a beer with them at some point. I mean, if I saw that, I'd be like, holy shit, hell yeah, let's go.
Right.
I'll bring a 6-pack.
Right. And that's kind of the way I thought about it when I made that post too, because I was like, man, if one of my bigger bands, like if August Burns Red made a post like that, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm going to go have a beer with my boys.
Yeah. Yeah, even like for me, it's like if Rise Against were to say something like that, it's like, hey, does anybody want to have like a vegan lunch with us? I'd be like, yeah, I'll go do it. I'm not a vegan, but I'll eat with you guys.
Sure. I'll be there.
Yeah, pretty much. Alrighty, well, I gotta say, I listened to the Overflow EP in preparation for this because I really wanted to get into it, and the song that I really want to talk about was the titular song off of the EP, which is Overflow. And Ben, I gotta jump to you for the intro on this one because it intros with this like grungy yet funky bass line at the same time. And I just gotta did you write that part? Because that stuck out to me like crazy.
Which song are you talking about? I'm sorry.
Overflow.
Overflow. I think it starts out with a guitar riff. But yeah, I think a quick guitar riff. But then when the band comes in there, I think that might be the bass line you're talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Brandon had brought that song in, or a couple little riffs of that, or of that song in originally, and we built off of it and built it into a whole song. But yeah, that bass line, I think I wrote the bass line, and the song was more of a collaboration. But yeah, I think there's a reason why we titled the EP Overflow. I think that ended up being our favorite. I would probably say just our favorite song to play live, because it slams and we go nuts and we just have just an amazing time playing it, and we get good response from it, and it's I think it deserves its title track stature.
And when when I've heard that bass line, I'm like, I absolutely love it because it's different from a lot of things that I've heard in the past from like any sort of hard rock band, and I was a huge fan of it because it stuck out, like it was completely different. But it stuck out so well, given that little intro from the guitar riff, and then how it gets into the rest of the song. Just that bass line, oh man, it freaking worked.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man. That's
then
cool.
I'm looking at it because I got in, the first verse of the song. It was definitely a hard rock track, and I felt like it had more substance to it than many other hard rock tracks have to them. Like it just, and for a title calling it Overflow makes so much more sense because the majority of the time, the drums have this great pace to them, and that mixture overall creates just a great hard rock feel. But then the mixture, like the guitars, it sounded like they're a little bit more down-tuned. I thought that was absolutely where it was at because it just made it sound just a mixture of so many different things. It had so much more substance than a lot of other hard rock tracks that I've heard recently.
Cool, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And one thing I did like about it even more so was like, when it was when you guys were transitioning from like one part to another, like the transitions, they didn't have a lot of substance to them, but just the contrast between, the more substance in the verse, more substance in the chorus, and then the transitions not necessarily having as much there, just kind of breaking up the song like that. I'm not the biggest fan of it overall, but on this track, it absolutely worked. Like it just worked out fantastically.
I was actually worried about too when we wrote it because of the way they switch. Because I was like, man, they do kind of like, they're clean in a way, they're random. Like, and I was kind of worried about that, but the more I listened to it when we actually got in the studio and we got the mixes back and stuff, I was like, man, something about the song, I don't know what it is. I didn't like that, but it worked. So I know exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you look at it on paper and it doesn't seem like it's going to work, but then when you put it in practice, it just does. It just all depends upon how the rest of the song is constructed and how it plays off.
Exactly.
Especially with that, you're kind of playing that contrast game between, the more substance in the verses and in the chorus when you're transitioning, you're going to change up and go a little bit more minimalistic on it. And just that different feel, just the quickness of it, it just worked out really well.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta give a big thumbs up on the guitar solo on that one too. I absolutely like that.
Appreciate that.
Nice.
The funny story about that. That's like the one thing on this album or EP I actually didn't write. Micah, the lead guitarist for Hawthorne, he wrote that little itty bitty solo.
Well, I gotta give credit to him for that one because that was
I will
good.
forever give him credit for that. I will not steal credit for that because I told him we sat there and watched him do that, and he's like, "You should do something like this," and we're like, "No, keep that. That was fucking cool."
You should do that and just leave it, right?
Yeah, we're like, keep that. You do that.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, because I say overall it brought more like diversity to the song as a whole in terms of the sound. And again, just more substance, an overflow of just a lot of things there that worked out real well. Looking at, of course, now, that's all the invitation, but we got to look at the vocals. So time to put Brandon on blast, but not really because the vocals compared
I'm
to
ready.
I'll say compared to Cold Home, because that was the other one we went into, it had a little bit more of the vocals had a little bit more of a lighter tone throughout the whole entire thing. And I like this move as well with all the substance that was going on in the instrumentation, with everything, all these hard rock tropes that were going in there. Your vocals gave the song a rather positive feel to it. So it added even more to it. Overall, overall, it's just like from the vocals, it's just, I don't know how you kind of came up with that idea for it, but my God, I'm just going to give the 2 thumbs up on that one. And, even my thumbs, they kind of like bend weird, but yeah.
Yeah. I've been messing with kind of some of the higher range vocals a little bit. And I just want to kind of give it like a creepy kind of vibe to it. And the song, the lyrics kind of just basically about everything, all the crazy shit that gets pushed on us in the world and just through the news and the media, but we're still here and everyone's still pushing on, just trying to live a better life. And so it is kind of like a sad song a little bit, but like the chorus, it just talks about how resilient everybody in this world is and in this country is, and that there's still good people here and everyone's still standing through all the fucking crazy shit that we get thrown at us. And so it does kind of have like a positive note to it.
And a perfect song for especially when it was released, just everything that's followed since in the world afterwards. I mean, just a perfect point to release that kind of a song in. And again, like I was saying, it's just like a little bit lighter tone. The vocals gave it that positive feel, and it really did work out on this instance. And overall, after listening to the EP, especially after listening to the Overflow track itself, this one especially, it has me excited for your guys' future going forward. And that's because the hard rock stylings that you guys were going with on this one, it showed some maturity that you're able to try a couple of new things, especially with that bass line in this one. I mean, that was just yeah, for me at least. And the more optimistic the feel, especially what this song has, is driven by the vocals being a little bit lighter. And I love the move on this one because the instrumentation slightly pushes that in that realm. But then again, it works out so much better, in my opinion, especially on a track like this. But then where I was going with mostly with this, again, it's showing a lot more, I would say, maturity in you guys, where your music is starting to really come more into its own. And when you guys are able to put a couple of different new things on a track like this, especially going forward, now that you guys, it's, Brandon, you're writing this stuff. Ben, you're writing this stuff. Taylor's now helping write this stuff as well. And then you got your drummer as well, Ryan, who's also going to help write this up as well. Just all these different styles. You have all these different ideas that you guys can bounce off each other. But again, I'm real excited to see where you guys go forward with this, because it's just showing that it's just the trajectory is just going wee.
Yeah, hope so.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Appreciate it.
That's the kind of compliment you always want to hear, because the same way with my music, my singing, my guitar playing, I'm constantly striving to keep changing and learning new styles, getting better if it's a little tiniest bit at a time. And that's something that I noticed they're good at, and that I wanted to push them. Like, I came in wanting to push Brandon to play harder guitar stuff, to sing different stuff. And he wasn't a fan of that at first, but he got really good at it, and like he really like blew me away and made me really proud, like as a musician.
Thank you.
Oh,
You're welcome.
Oh,
We have reached the compliment segment of our show,
Father
ladies and
is proud
gentlemen.
of you.
Thank you.
Well, guys, now that the Overflow EP is out and everything that's happened since then, so during this whole entire coronavirus pandemic, you guys talked about it, or we talked about it a little bit earlier with, okay, you know, what do you guys think about doing, you know, maybe retracking Cold Home and with adding some of Taylor's guitar parts in there that he added to there. So during and then everything that happened with the Blue Ridge Festival as well, what else have you guys been doing during this time to help grow the band and grow your notoriety and just kind of add more to your fan base, basically?
Well, right now.
Actually,
Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
well, I was saying right now, what we're doing, we're actually getting ready to play a show. We have a show this Friday. We've been practicing for like weeks, just getting prepped in case any shows came up, and one did. And we actually, for a while there, we were working on like all of our songs acoustically, but lately we've been rehearsing a lot and getting ready for shows, and we actually just booked a couple more. So yeah, well, hopefully things like that keep happening and we'll be able to get back to playing more and more.
Now, are all these shows just specific to your home state of Ohio, or are you guys venturing out more with the ones that you've booked? And not counting the Blue Ridge one, because you already know that one's in Virginia.
Yeah, that's the only one out of state that we have right now. The one that we have this Friday is in Dayton, which is our hometown, and then we just booked one in Columbus. So it just depends. Whatever good opportunities come up, we'll travel if we have to.
And we'd love to travel, honestly. If we can find shows in like Indianapolis, like Chicago type places, you know, we're more than willing to travel if the opportunity is good for us, you know?
yeah, we've been out of state several times, but just with everything that's happened, I think it kind of just put a halt on the entire booking process. Not only did we lose shows, but we also lost the ability to book shows because nobody was doing anything. So everything kind of just stopped, and now it's starting to filter back in a little bit. So I'm sure some more stuff will start coming in, and some of it may be out of state. Yeah, we'll absolutely, you know, given the right circumstances, we'll definitely get out and do that.
However, two major points on that. One is this wasn't like, I tell this to everybody, and it's when it comes to like, you know, your shows being canceled, then the non-ability to book shows. This wasn't just an isolated incident to you guys. This was an incident that affected every band that's out there. This affected everybody. So it's like, 'cause like, you're like, you know, bands going on like European tours, that all got canceled. And just going on big national tours here in the US, they either got rescheduled or completely canceled overall. Like that's all happened. But then now it's like you guys are able to book. I mean, you're playing one on Friday, June 12th in Dayton, Ohio, in your hometown. I mean,
This Friday.
yeah, and I made sure that so that when people like listen to this, you know, when I, you know, because I'm gonna push it heavy with YouTube and just like, okay, you know, make sure the United States of America sees this, but also specifically, we're gonna make sure Dayton, Ohio sees this because then they can go out and see your show. And also because it's your hometown too, because then it just makes a lot more sense. but then again, it's just, play for an hour.
Yeah, we got an hour set.
That's good.
Yeah, it is.
It's also one of those things where we're throwing in those different mashup of different bands and covers into one set too, because we have a couple covers that are very different bands.
Yeah, but then again, it's just what you're trying to do is, what you're trying to do right now, especially like for your first show back, it's also, you know, play your own stuff, really promote the EP, but then also because for a lot of people, this is going to be their first show since everything got shut down. So everyone's going to want to, you know, be able to completely enjoy the show every step of the way through. And you throw in some covers in there, especially for the crowd, that if they're going to absolutely, you know, eat them out of the palm of your hand, they're just going to end up enjoying it so much more, which is just going to end up connecting them even better to your band.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I can't wait. It's going to be kind of weird though, because a lot of places still in Ohio too, as far as for bars and venues, like a lot of it's still sit down. So you can't even stand up like a normal show.
Yeah, that's always one thing I've been like kind of concerned about too, because it's like for me when I go to shows, it's I'm one of the guys that always is in the mosh pit going crazy because I absolutely love doing that. That's just how I enjoy the shows the most. I mean, Have I gotten hurt at times? Of course I've gotten hurt at times. Black eyes, cuts above my eyes, almost breaking my nose. I mean, it's an every show occurrence for me at this point.
My first August Burns Red show. Someone was crowd surfing over me, and I got straight up kneed right in my temple. I was like, "This is awesome."
First miss of August Burns are the only time I've seen him. I almost tore my ACL. I want to say at least 7 times. But that's because the venue where I saw him at was at Summerfest here in Milwaukee, and they got benches all over the place. And of course, you got like between where the front of where the first bench was, like the absolute first bench, like first row, and the guardrail, like people were trying to mosh in like this 4 foot wide space.
Oh my God.
And of course, I'm standing on top of and I'm like getting knocked over. And then I'm standing at the bottom, like 1 row back, because I'm just trying to make sure the people in front of us don't fall off. And then I kept getting knocked over, and I kept getting knocked over the bench. My leg kept getting caught. I almost tore my ACL, 7 times.
Jeez.
Yeah, we had enough of that. So, we kind of made Jake Lears blush a little bit with this one. We picked up the benches. Just whoop. We needed more room, man.
Get them out.
That's hilarious.
Security was pissed at us.
Oh, I bet they were so pissed, dude.
And we were trying to convince them, like, no. Just hold up the benches. Like, this is going to be safer for everybody.
This is a good thing, I promise.
Yeah, so probably August Burns Red come back to Summerfest. Not likely, but I'd rather have him go to the rave here in Milwaukee anyway, because just open ballroom, just...
Right.
That's just me, though.
Yeah, the first time I saw him, it was at Bogart's in Cincinnati. And I remember who was it? Beartooth opened for them.
Oh, my God.
It was my first time seeing Beartooth, and that was before they changed singers. So that was back in 2013.
Oh my God.
And then the other 2 bands it was Defeater and Bless the Fall. So it was a cool
Jesus
lineup.
Christ.
It was sweet. And I remember as soon as August Burns Red played, I was in the back. As soon as they hit their first song hit, I got shoved all the way to the front immediately. I was like, I didn't even have to work for this. This is sweet.
That's what happened to me when I saw Day to Remember. I just got pushed for. I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? Okay, I'm good.
I'm front row now.
I couldn't crowd surfer though, but that's just I'm like, well, I want to, but if I do that, then I'm getting taken by security right away because, well, I'm at the freaking guardrails, so can't do much about it.
And that was how it was too. Like the other show I went to, this was actually the first show that I ever saw Thrice at that made me fall in love with them as a band. It was Circa Survive, Chon, Thrice, and Balance and Composure. And it was such a good show, but I got the VIP for Circa because I was like a huge Circa fan. So I got to see a 3-song exclusive performance from them in the main room before like they actually played. And I sat like right in front of like his guitar pedal board. Like it was like touching my foot. I was like geeking out like a kid. And they let the doors open for us to go in early. And I was like, bet. And I literally went to the front row at the bar and I stayed there the whole damn show, waiting for my friends to come in after the fact.
Well, kind of like what we brought up earlier with like the music festival stuff where people find out about your music because they're going to end up like potentially camping out at that site.
Exactly.
That's how I found out about Thrice because I went to it's a festival that doesn't run anymore. It was called Sonic Boom Fest in Janesville, Wisconsin, and they only had 2 stages up. But the reason I found out about Thrice was because when I got there, I camped out at the stage where the headliner was going to play at, and Thrice was going on before the headliner went on. But after Thrice was on, because I got to see their whole set, then all of a sudden the band that was basically going to be the last band on the other stage was starting, which was Stone Sour. And I didn't move an inch because, well, I actually moved an inch, but I moved closer because, well, the headliner was Rise Against. I already said that. I'm like, I'm not gonna freaking miss that. And that was fun. But now I kind of want to jump in like your live shows. So when you guys have been playing live shows, well, before the whole entire pandemic thing happened, because who knows what the venues are going to have when you guys play on Friday when it comes to people are going to be able to sit down, stand up, what kind of interaction is going to be able to be had in like on the floor in front of the stage. Who knows? But before all this crap happened, what were your live shows like?
Ben, you want to take that one?
Sure. We typically, when we play locally, when circumstances are good, they're pretty high energy and they're somewhat scripted. Like we like to go in and just knowing, we're not much of a jam band type thing. We know what we want to do and we go for it. So we kind of have our way of going into our show mode and putting on a show, and they're usually full of big lights and it's the sound guys that we hire or house guys or whatever usually pump it pretty hard. So, it's I think it's a pretty big, loud, heavy, bright, fun type of experience, and we'll bring it down a little bit during our set and mellow out for a song or two, just to, give everybody a break. But generally it's pretty high energy, pretty fun. And like I said, like we always try to get a good light show because, for me, a show can be just as much a spectacle experience as it can be an audio experience or an audible experience. If sometimes you come out of a show going like, fuck, man, they didn't sound very good, but god damn, that light show was good, or something like that. You never know. Like sometimes, when you get that visual and you get the audio and it's all just like, I think that's what we try to go for. It's just an overall good experience.
Oh, that's completely understandable because when it comes down to it, like even when you're thinking about like the concerts, even when I think about the concerts that I absolutely remember, like almost everything from, or like maybe even you guys as well, the concerts you remember everything from, there was always a combination of the music is always gotta be where it's at, but then also the experience that's created, not only like with either the visuals or with like the experience, with the fan, like in the crowd overall. If you're able to mix the music with either the visuals really well or with the fans or all three, holy shit, are you gonna get some concerts that are just completely the ones that you're never gonna forget. And for me, it's like I'm trying to think of one that's the one that for me perfectly exemplifies that is when I saw Ice Nine Kills headline a show. Holy shit.
They're actually on the festival we're playing too.
No, oh my God. God damn, now I really want to go to that fucking festival.
What'd you say, Brandon? You just randomly came in.
I'm looking forward to seeing them at the festival.
Yeah, I have too. I've never seen them. My boss, the job I work now, he's not my boss anymore, but he was like a diehard Ice Nine Kills fan. He would sit there and pull me in the side room thinking I'd be in trouble, and he'd talk to me about music for like an hour.
I'll say this: when it comes to Ice Nine Kills, I'll put it this way: when I saw them live, I had only heard 2 songs from them before that. After seeing that live show, because they like their headline, they played 19 songs, almost 2 hours. And like their whole entire, like I look like the set, it's all horror movie based. Everything about
everyone's
it,
a different song, different movie and stuff.
Oh yeah, and then they like their last album, which is my second favorite album of all time now. Is just every song is based off a different horror movie. The one before that was everyone's based off a different book, and it's just like holy shit. And then just from the visuals to the music to how fun the crowd was. That like just after that show, I went from like, oh, I might listen to some more Ice Nine Kills to all of a sudden I'm like, I need to jump into this band of full force. And now the only band that I like more than Ice Nine Kills is Rise Against. Like it happened that quick. And this show was in the beginning of November of last year.
Oh, wow. That's a quick change that's a quick change in making a big fan. That's the little things like that make the world of difference that gain the lifelong fan.
Yeah. And now I got even like
they blew up pretty quick.
And we got a little Spencer guy right here too.
Hell yeah.
I kept him right here because there's an artist that I end up talking to that I follow some of her stuff, and her and I got connected, and she's like, yeah, like I got one of these. I'm like, yay.
Hell yeah.
But I've got a collection of those.
I've only got 2. I've got this one from her, and then she's made me another one. It was it's also Spencer Charnas, but it's from the It Is the End video, so he looks like Pennywise the Clown.
Oh hell yeah,
that's
sick. Dope. I love Pennywise and It, and just the series.
Yeah, but basically, kind of like where I was again, like kind of bringing this back all into the forefront with your guys' music. It's when you're able to create that experience with the music, with the visuals, and with the crowd interaction, and really driving that. It's those shows that people are going to be like, oh my God, I gotta listen. I gotta listen to this band more. I gotta pay attention more to this band. I gotta really, dive deeper into it. And they're gonna be able to connect with the music even more when they're able to really take a look at the lyrics and really understand how the music makes them feel. But when it comes to those live shows, especially you're able to create one hell of an experience, that's just gonna make it a lot easier for those fans that, are just getting introduced to your music to connect to it a lot easier.
You're 100% right. It's all the little things depending on what you like. Just you might catch someone's attention on the smallest thing with the light show, like Ben was saying, one small riff that gets you, or the culmination of everything. It's just like a wow moment, and that's what you want to do. You want to make memories for people that they want to be able to remember you 10 years later. Like I remember going to that concert. That was sweet.
And we're we're like, I don't know. We're still learning, we're learning how to do that stuff. We're learning how to interact with specific crowds, whether it's big, small, or, whatever it may be. We're still learning how to perform in those situations, how to handle, we're always learning. It's always a learning process. So, like we're just small town dudes from Dayton, Ohio, so we've got a long way to go. I mean, we have a lot of experience, collectively for sure, but that doesn't mean that we're done learning, and every show is a new opportunity to learn something else that you can take and apply it to your next show.
Oh, definitely. And then when you kind of bring it on the forefront too, especially in the grand scheme of things, every single band is all, even the gigantic ones as well, they're doing the exact same thing. They're always learning, They're always potentially trying new things. I mean, hell, you take a look at some shows that you might have seen from bands like 10 years ago, and all of a sudden you see them now, and the shows are going to be completely different, but just because of how they learn how to interact with the crowd and how they learn to just drive the emotion of the crowd as well. And I think a prime example of that would be a band like Disturbed, where if you saw them 10 years ago, right after 10, 12 years ago, right after Indestructible came out, you were going to get a heavy as hell show, and it was just going to be heavy hitting, hard hitting all the time. But now you go see them, you're still going to get bits and pieces of that, because I saw them twice last year. Yeah, you got bits and pieces of that, but then when they bring out, the Sound of Silence cover, they play stuff off their new record. It's the it goes from being hard and heavy and just, high testosterone driven to just incredibly emotional. And I remember they played Reason to Fight, Holding the Memories, and the Sound of Silence. Like, you look around and it's just, there were people crying everywhere.
It's an intimate moment as a musician to the band. That's when you're really feeling like you can connect with not just the band, but the singer itself. It's like a really intimate moment for both parties.
Oh, very much so. And then again, why I made that point was just because they've changed up their live sets from what it used to be to what it is now, because they wanted to go a different way, and they learned how to basically, do what they want to do, but also bring in this new aspect to it. So when it comes to you guys as well, it's just, you're always going to be learning. You're always going to be trying new things. You're always going to be working on your live shows to try and connect more with the fans and create that live experience so that people consistently want to go to your live shows, and not consistently go to them every time you come to town, but also when you're just kind of close by, they're going to travel. Like for myself, all of a sudden, there's bands that would come to Chicago, and I'm like, yeah, I'll drive the 90 miles south. Sure. Band will go to Madison, Wisconsin. Well, I drive 75 miles west to go see those shows. I've done it plenty of times. And then there's a show up in Minneapolis. Do I want to drive 4.5 hours to it? That's what I did for A Day to Remember. So it
Right.
has happened. It's just, when you're able to connect with fans on such a different level, they're going to want to go and see you live and experience that. And they're going to travel to go do it too.
I think you're absolutely right. Like you said, you're being able to drive 4 hours like that's a prime example of it. I've driven hours for shows for if it's worth it, it's worth it.
Yeah, and it all is going to take time to really understand when it comes to working on those shows, making those shows happen, and just really being able to just create that sense that people are going to constantly want to come back to your shows, and not only come back, but just, again, travel to them and go far places to go and see them. I mean, then the best way to do that is get out, play live shows, and figure it out, because all these bands that have done it and really have the connections, they can tell you how they did it. But the thing is they're playing their music. You're playing your music.
It's not going to apply in the same way. It's not going to hit you the same, because, everybody's their own feel. Everybody does things their own way. Every crowd's going to be different. Bands you're going to play with are be different. You have to constantly be able to adapt. You have to constantly be willing to have that learning curve and embrace it.
And the fact that you guys have that mindset is what's going to set you apart from everybody else in the end, because you're going to be the ones willing to try something different. You're going to be the ones willing to not get stuck in normalcy and not get complacent. You guys are going to be the ones that are going to keep driving forward and trying new things and figuring it out. And that is freaking awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And as I plan on wrapping this up right about now, I've got one last topic I kind of want to dive into. So we're going to do it. And I think it's at the perfect time at the end, because you guys are talking about that you're going to be releasing working on a new album even after the EP. So basically, what's the process been like for working on this new album? Where are you guys at right now? And how's everything coming together?
Well, so far right now, I have written maybe 1 or 2 demos towards BlackWater stuff that I've shown the guys, and they really liked it. I haven't finished out the structure of it, and that's what I was going to do, was finish out the structure, send it to Ben and Ryan and Brandon to kind of do what they want to do and feel about it. They've already liked it. And I think from there, maybe if we want to keep doing some demos, do it that way. We can try to get together and be like, hey, let's just have a solely dedicated writing session. Like, let's just see if we can hash out something new, a new riff, new song. And that's, I feel like the best way we go about it is one of those 2 ways. Like, it works well for us.
We're pretty early in that process as far as the next evolution or the next writing process for BlackWater. It's pretty early just because, the circumstances with everything that's happened in the last few months, if things have been different and if we had been playing shows over the last 3 months and promoting our EP, maybe we would have had some time to get in and write some more stuff. Well, because, we would have had our show down pat solid, but with 3-4 months of consistent shows. So now it's almost just like, all right, let's just take all this time that we missed, hit the reset button, and go back to the day where we had our last show before the COVID hit and start there and continue to promote our EP and kind of keep that process going for a little while longer and kind of start to get back into that writing process a little bit more. But it is still fairly early in that writing process.
Yeah, and also I've been building a new guitar rig for live shows and all that. So very early in the process of it, but still got a couple good ideas on the guitar, and definitely excited with what I've heard from Taylor so far, and got some vocal ideas for that. But yeah, right now we're getting prepped to play shows again, and once we have our set down, we're gonna dive into writing again and figure out. We actually were thinking about putting a new single together for the festival that we're going to be playing in, recording it and releasing it before the festival, and possibly playing it at the festival as well. So that's something we're looking into doing right now.
I don't think that'd be a bad idea at all, especially with that single, releasing it when you're going to be in front of a crowd, probably one of the bigger crowds that you've been in front of, especially if you got a lot of people camping out for August Burns Red and for Motionless in White, because it's going to add more substance to it. And I totally understand where you're coming from, where you guys just are in the very early stages of it, because you did release the EP back in March. And of course, with everything that happened, now the focus is on playing live shows and getting that set down in front beforehand. However, one thing you guys do have to your advantage is when you're playing these live shows is, especially with the fact that you released that EP, it's kind of like you still have some new stuff to show people that they haven't seen yet.
Oh, yeah,
heard yet.
definitely.
Yeah, and that's how we treat it.
We haven't got started with it yet.
Yeah.
So it's just a real interesting way that it's all put together. And I gotta say, I'm very curious to see how this all is going to turn out, because it's such an interesting situation. It's such a fluid situation, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, because who knows what the heck's happening. However, the fact that you guys are going to be out there playing live shows and being able to connect with those fans on a personal level once again, where other bands are not going to be doing the same thing. You're taking the opportunity that's being presented to you and you're running with it. And I absolutely love that you guys are doing that.
I'm so stoked to start playing again. I'm so ready.
It feels like I've been too complacent, put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, hell, like just through this, I'm like, my mind's trying to talk me into like, yeah, dude, on Friday, hop in your car and travel 8 hours to Dayton. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. But
hey, Ben's got a couch for you. You're good.
Unfortunately,
I got a whole bedroom. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you got a spare bedroom. Shit, you're set, boy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm also thinking, shit, I have another podcast to do that day as well. So I'm like, oh boy, can I reschedule that one? My mind's working at like a million miles a minute right now, trying to figure out if I can make this happen. Because like I haven't seen a live show in almost 3 months. I mean, when I got my appendix taken out, like because I have a full-time job, my boss said, "Yeah, your body probably said you haven't been in a crazy mosh pit in almost over 3 months. Your body's like, we need to hurt him somehow. This is what we're gonna do."
The gym's not cutting it. It's not the same kind of hurt.
Oh no, it's not the same kind of hurt as all of a sudden like some guy that's always like 260 pounds all of a sudden just hitting me from the side, just like me getting just completely, pancaked into the ground. And next thing I know, I've got 3 people like grabbing my arms to pick me back up. It's like, oh, okay, here we go again.
Right. Or you wake up like, where the hell am I? What happened? Sweet. And that's what happened. Cool.
Yeah, or almost breaking my nose during the beginning of the break, or like right at the end of the second chorus for Popular Monster by falling in
I
reverse.
was about to say, you just gave them a reason to call it a breakdown.
Yeah, and I almost broke my. I was like, oh shit, someone broke my nose. Like, 'cause I heard how hard the hit was. It was hollow as hell. I'm like, oh god, nose ain't broken, not bleeding. All right, and everyone's like, you're not bleeding. Yeah, they're like, good, you're leading the wall of death on this side. I'm like, let's go. I was so happy.
Hell yeah.
So it's like I'm waiting for another live show where I can actually do something like that, because I am just that it makes me feel it. There's only a couple of times in life now where it's like there's times like I can get into a situation and feel like just I can let everything go and nothing else matters. And it's just all that matters is just me wanting to do what I want to do and be happy. And like when I go to the gym, I get that feeling, but it's not the same like going to a live show and getting that and getting in the mosh pit, because holy shit, is that just that's I don't know why it just feels like I'm free.
It's your place at home. It's your home. It's comfortable. It's just what you know. It's your favorite thing.
It's my very dangerous home. That's what it is.
Hey, it's a home either way.
That's true. As long as I'm happy, that's what matters.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm taking a look at the time. We've done pretty much like almost 2 hours at this point.
Wow.
That's what I figured. I was like,
all right,
about 2 hours.
Yeah. So, well, as we come to a close, I will let you guys take the helm on this one, and it's kind of like I would say it's like honestly like a court case. Please give your closing remarks now. That was the weirdest I could have said it. My God.
I gotcha. We are BlackWater. We are a hard rock band from Dayton, Ohio. We have our first show since COVID came up this coming Friday, June 12th at JD Legends, opening up for Jasmine Kane. We do have a new EP out, Overflow. That's on all streaming platforms. We have a lyric video out for it as well on YouTube. And then the biggest thing we have to look forward to this year is Blue Ridge Rock Festival in Virginia. That is on the weekend of September 18th through the 20th, and we'll be playing on Sunday. So come get some fun and go to Virginia and go to a damn rock festival.
And you can go to blackwaterofficial.net as well. And we have, promo kits and videos and pictures and our show dates and everything are
we
right there.
We got new merch on our website too. We have new
new online store,
physical copies, all that.
BlackWaterofficial.net and Facebook and all that fun garbage. Well,
so because we got All right, Brandon, you got any closing remarks? I mean, if it's just I'm good with that.
They pretty much nailed it.
Nailed it.
Well, for everything that they just said when it comes to when it comes to their live shows where you can find that stuff, instead of, I'm going to put it this way, you're not going to have to search it up. All you have to do is if you're listening to the podcast, just look at the description. Then all that stuff's going to be in there. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if they have Twitter. I don't even remember if they have Twitter right now, but wherever it is, their YouTube channel, they watch all this stuff. Spotify to stream all this stuff. Honestly, I might even put directions on how to get to this place that you're playing on Friday. Just, get more people to it. Put a link to the Blue Ridge Festival so some people can buy tickets and be like, yeah, go see BlackWater. Put a link to your website. Put a link to your merch. Anything you want when it comes to BlackWater, just take a look at the description of the video or of the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and you're going to see the links there to click on or tap on or whatever you guys are going to do with them. And, basically get yourself into BlackWater.
And make sure to promote yourself. Make sure to subscribe to your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Please. I was going to say, I always put that the beginning portion of the show. So that's always the intro. But yes, please subscribe to the Chord Progression podcast or subscribe to My Song Neighbor Rock Tells NBA page on YouTube because, you want to know why? Because then you're going to get notified anytime stuff like this comes out. And then all of a sudden, the next time we get to talk with the guys from BlackWater on this podcast as well, probably, after Blue Ridge or when the album comes out, we'll make that all happen because then you'll be like, oh my God, I remember these guys. I got to listen to their shit again. Because we're not letting you forget.
Hell yeah.
Well, guys, this has been one hell of a time because I love doing these, and this has always been a hell of a time, but I always say that because it's true. This has been one hell of a time. I love talking to all three of you guys. This was amazing, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with, starting to play live shows again, when you guys play Blue Ridge, what the crowd's going to be like and how your band builds off of that, what this new album's going to sound like, and hopefully you guys come around my neck of the woods, or I end up having a chance to travel to your neck of the woods and seeing a show.
Yeah,
that was good. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, dude. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for being on, guys. And instead of saying goodbye, this is always like you know what? I'll see you next time.
Until next time.
Until next time, guys. Already take it easy and have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, folks, that was our interview with the guys of BlackWater from Dayton, Ohio. If you are looking for any of the information regarding their live show, their first show since the coronavirus pandemic hit, that is on June 12th of 2020 in Dayton, Ohio, you can look at the description below. You can also look where to find them on social media, on YouTube, online, and all their merch, anywhere to stream them, anything. Look at the description of the YouTube video or the podcast description because it's all there. And this is a band that I cannot wait to see how their live shows end up, how this all comes together for them, how the fans take to the EP when they're seeing live shows, what Blue Ridge Festival is going to end up taking for this band. And then going forward on that, I cannot wait to see what happens when all of a sudden, this new album comes out. And we're going to get to talk to them again because these guys were fun as all hell to talk to. I love talking to them, and we're just going to keep going forward with that. You can expect to see something of their EP as a Song of the Day feature in the couple coming months because I don't want you to forget about them. That's just not right. But until next time, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You guys know who this is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song of the Day Rock 2000 today. And you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty